Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, a cutting-edge consciousness-shifting podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss the astrological trajectory of the coronavirus and the economic indicators associated with the pandemic going forward, so stay tuned. So here it is, late March 2020, and everybody wants to know what is happening with this coronavirus astrologically. Were there indicators that were showing us this kind of pandemic would happen? And as an astrologer and with my fellow colleagues of astrologers, we had been looking at this time period of February 2020 and March 2020 very closely. There were some astrological indicators that were showing us we would be in some challenging times. And I want to share these with you. The big one is the fact that there were 3 planets congregating in the sign Capricorn, and these 3 planets were Saturn in late degree Capricorns with Pluto. Jupiter was also there, and Mars came to ignite the stellium of 3 planets. So we have a 4-planet stellium, or gathering of 4 planets. Again, it was the planet Saturn in Capricorn, which is very enhanced there, has to do with the collective. Saturn rules our structures, and the fact that the planet Pluto, which is death, rebirth, transformation, was conjuncting Saturn, we knew there would be some reformation of our structures. Then we throw Jupiter into the mix. By the way, this was all happening from the end of February through March 2020. Jupiter was there very tightly conjunct with the Saturn and Pluto, expanding whatever it was that they were going to be bringing forth. Then the ignition comes in, which is from the planet Mars starting to transit into Capricorn in mid-February as well. And as it got close to the stellium in the degrees, the 20-something degrees of Capricorn, it ignites and it creates a worldwide pandemic. And so the astrology of Capricorn, 4 planets there, Capricorn rules the collective situation, the collective structures. This is why we could foresee that it would be worldwide and not necessarily confined to the U.S. What we were comparing this to was 9/11, September 11th, 2001, when there was the bombing of the World Trade Centers. The reason why we went back to that time period, 19 years ago, is that in astrology there's a cycle called the Lunar Nodal Return cycle that happens every 18 and a half to 19 years. And what we saw happening in February and March of 2020, that the lunar nodal degrees were going exactly back to where they were during September 11th, 2001. So this was a big red flag for us. And then we noticed there was also going to be the stellium of the Capricorn planets that I discussed. Mars triggering an existing conjunction, we call it in astrology, of the planet Jupiter, the planet Pluto, and Saturn in these later degrees of Capricorn. So we knew that there were going to be structural breakdowns somehow. The health piece, I would say, comes in because I kept getting psychically, and I talked to colleagues about this, and we were discussing it being an airborne situation. So we thought that planes would be going down. We certainly thought that planes would be grounded. We thought it would be affecting planes and grounding them, which it has, but that is a byproduct of the airborne virus. So we didn't have the specifics of how it was going to play out back last year in 2019, but we knew that it was going to be a major worldwide event. At the same time, we also were looking at Pluto, which rules, it's a death rebirth, but it's a transformational. Pluto sometimes can rule the economy, okay? Because it's the planet that rules Scorpio, which is a financial planet in astrology, a financial sign. Scorpio and Taurus are the 2 financial signs. So the fact that Pluto was going to be palling around with Saturn, a structure breaker, a structure changer, and that Jupiter was going to expand the situation, that was our indicator around this time last year that we were going to have an upset economically in 2020. And then as we got closer, we were associating this worldwide event with something economically. And then we have the perfect storm of the planet Mars coming in and triggering it. So here we are in late March 2020, and a lot of my listeners and clients want to know, well, okay, it happened. When is it going to wind down? So the wind down there's several indications of planets connecting. The big one is going to be on the 23rd of March. Mars and Pluto are together in Capricorn, which is marking perhaps the height of the volatility. Mars is a volatile planet. Pluto is that go to the dark depths planet at death, rebirth. So starting the week of the 23rd of March, we're going to see things get intense before they get better. Jupiter will be connecting with Pluto from March 29th to April 6, 2020. And so this may be a big focus on the economy, although the economy has been under the spotlight as well. The good news in all of this is that Saturn has left the Capricorn party. Saturn left the conjunction with the group in Capricorn and went into Aquarius on March 22nd. And so it's going to move through early degrees of Aquarius, taking some heat away through July of 2020. Mars will also leave Capricorn in early April, from the 29th through the 7th of April, 29th of March, 7th of April, but it will be conjuncting Saturn, which is still a red flag. So we're not really going to be out of the woods of these tight aspects that have created the pandemic label of the coronavirus and the pandemic effect of the coronavirus until after April 7th. So as it is with astrological transits, we have the exact conjunctions or the exact triggers happen, and then there's what we call fallout from these intense transits. And so throughout April, we're going to be on the receiving end of the intense transits, meaning that there is still going to be a pandemic. Astrologically, it's indicated. As we get into May, June, and July, that's when we're going to have the focus on the economic piece and picking up the pieces. And so that is the key information I want to share. We can discuss in another broadcast as we go along more indicators and more information. When I come back, I'll talk about what is the benefit or silver lining about the astrology right now. Welcome back. I want to talk about now the silver lining of some of the astrological implications that are happening at the end of March into April 2020. And that has to do with the sign Pisces. We talked about 4 planets in Capricorn, Mars and Saturn leaving the Capricornian cluster and going into the sign Aquarius. Saturn will be there until July, lifting some of this heaviness of Capricornian cluster. And the fact that Saturn is going to be in Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign of universal cooperation, new paradigms, new inventions, lifting up of consciousness, which is what we do with this show. So people are going to probably come together during April, May, June, and realize we're all in this together. This is already happening, but coming up with some inventions maybe, or there will be some medical relief as far as what people can take, or an understanding of boosting the immune system to help with the virus, and just more cooperation worldwide, community-wide, nationwide, thanks to the Aquarian signature. So I'm looking forward to that. The other interesting thing is that in February we had Mercury retrograde. A lot of people know about this in astrological jargon. I'll be doing an episode on that, but Mercury was retrograde and went direct on February 11th, which also seemed to be a timeline when this really started coming forth in Europe, in Italy specifically. So Mercury went into the sign Pisces on the 17th of March, 2020, St. Patrick's Day, and it continues there until the 12th of April, 2020. And so Pisces actually likes to be cloistered and secluded. Pisces is a very spiritual sign, and it is a harmony with Capricorn, with the planets in Capricorn. So we have the Mercury, the messenger, going through Pisces, as well as Neptune, the mystical sign. And so we can use these archetypal energies, Mercury in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, harmonized with Jupiter in Capricorn right now and Pluto in Capricorn, to go deeper within. Use this time of seclusion to really connect to your source, to really bring out those creative latent gifts that perhaps you didn't have time to explore and expand in your day-to-day life. Pisces asks that we connect with our soul. And in this time of being perhaps alone or secluded, certainly away from your day-to-day life, you can glean some gifts from within, connect strongly to your soul or your source, and then emerge as being cocooned in this soul-searching cocoon, emerge with your new self and your new gifts. And a lot of people might change course as a result of this. So the Capricornian cluster I discussed is all about the breakdown of structures. We're seeing structures that no longer work both nationally, internationally, in our medical systems, and in so many other areas that are under fire right now and stressed out. So there will be big changes being made. And personally, we're seeing how we are enslaved perhaps to our own structures in our life and having a time to be freed up thanks to Mercury in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, harmonized with the Jupiter and the Pluto. So we're really being asked to go into the deepest state of self-awareness and self-transformation that we can find. Listening to podcasts like this are helping my listeners and clients to really remember what's important. As Saturn took away many things in Capricorn, which it tends to do, it's quite the austere planet, especially in its own sign of Capricorn, we're being left with just the basics. And we realize that, what do I really need to survive? And we're coming back to the basics. And that's a good thing. What do we really value? Our family, our friends, our creativity, our ability to get out in nature, our ability to smell the fresh air as spring blooms around us. So remembering the blessings is really important right now. And if you're on social media such as Facebook or other Instagram or other social medias, you might be seeing all your friends who are musicians coming out and playing free concerts with their music, which is uplifting. I happen to have a lot of healers and musicians on my Facebook stream, and so I'm getting all kinds of concerts from some of my favorite musician friends. I'm also getting yoga and meditations beamed in every day and other kind of very healing broadcasts through these media outlets that are really soothing at this time. And so that is also what we intend to do at Cosmic Scene. We have so much to share here that's going to help your inner state and achieve a place of peace and well-being within. And what a better time to do that when you're sequestered away from the world. So remember the blessings and know that this is a time out of time for you to connect within and make some deep and lasting changes when you emerge from your cocoon. So as part of this broadcast, I did want to share the astrology of the economy that is happening during the COVID-19 pandemic starting in March 2020 going forward. And as I had mentioned earlier, Pluto is one of the archetypes that rules the financial markets, and it's together with Saturn and Jupiter. So what we're going to see is the breakdown before the breakthrough. And the current situation where the market is volatile and plummeting will continue up and down through May 2020, then we will see by July things will rally back. Certainly by the end of 2020, we will have our gains coming back. But it is a scary cycle to go through, and Pluto and Jupiter together for the next couple months of March, April into May is creating this situation of loss and expansion side by side. Again, we'll see it leveling off as we come into the fall of 2020 and as Jupiter moves out of the sign Capricorn and into Aquarius, there will be very good indicators for the economy. So my advice is to not go into fear. This is a wave, and we have to ride it. We have to surf it, actually, and not be inundated. And it is the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction that is disturbing the economy. And again, as I said, it's very intense in the months of March and April 2020. Interestingly, in May, we will have the full moon with the sun in Taurus and the moon in Scorpio. Always, every year, it happens at different times every year, it will bring big shifts into the economy. And in this particular year, I feel there'll be a big reset happening at the full moon in May. We'll talk more about that. It's also quite a sacred ceremony in the Tibetan lineage called the Wesak moon. So we'll talk about that. But be calm. Don't go into fear. Don't perpetuate fear of loss. And going forward in some future broadcasts, I'm actually going to teach you some prosperity mantras in Sanskrit that you can be chanting at these precarious financial times. And now I am going to guide you in chanting a Sanskrit mantra to remove obstacles. Sanskrit mantras come from the ancient Vedas and have been in the West now for over 100 years. I have been honored to be initiated into a lineage from gurus from India in the Sanskrit mantra tradition. And it is my great pleasure and honor to share this with you in our broadcast today and in upcoming broadcasts. But considering the situation with the coronavirus and the economy, we are faced with big obstacles. And so I'm going to share a mantra to remove obstacles at this precarious time. And that mantra is Om GUM GANA-PATAYEI NAMAHA. Chanting mantras is the yoga of sound. So it would be, instead of doing a posture, you chant this mantra for 108 times. I'm going to lead it 9 repetitions. The chanting a mantra in repetition is called japa, and it builds up a charge within your physiology, your spiritual energetic physiology that can bring changes. It can bring protection, it can remove obstacles, and it can raise your vibration. And we all need to raise our vibration above that of fear and the viral energy. So join me in chanting Om GUM GANA-PATAYEI NAMAHA 9 times. The words will be in the liner notes so you can follow along. Now please join me in chanting Om GUM GANA-PATAYEI NAMAHA 9 times to remove obstacles. Om GUM GANA-PATAYEI NAMAHA. 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 This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine signing off, sending good vibrations through the quantum field.